saying, because I want everyone to get like a big overview and an insight on how I felt being in that situation. Because I feel like it's not talked about enough. Nobody talks about this. Nobody sits there and tells you, because a lot of people are ashamed, or a lot of people are still going through that trauma, you know. And I'm not gonna say I'm fully healed, because it's been rough out here. But I'm getting so much better, and this is basically just like my road to recovery, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. So I just wanted to check in before my podcast, and I will be back with you guys later.
So we're here today. This episode is, I have to be honest with you, it's very special to me just because it's different. Mm-hmm. And I've never had the honor to like talk about a story like this. I'm usually very, you've heard the page, very, well, what do you do? And how long have you been doing it for? I've never uncovered a story where a person had literally felt the need to pick themselves back up. So we're doing this story in honor of Domestic Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. And who are you, lovely lady, that I'm introducing right now? Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Jasmin. I'm 21 years old. I just started a YouTube channel because I wanted to share my story with domestic violence. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that today.
Okay, perfect. And I met you about, what would you say, 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I reached out.
Yeah, and then we spent like 2.5 hours at Starbucks.
Just talking.
And it was perfect how it worked out that day, because literally you were like, hey, what do you talk about? I'd like to do this. And I'm like, well, I do that. And then we met that night.
It was so fast,
It was meant to be. I feel like it was meant to be. Like I kind of said in the beginning, this isn't like my traditional way to interview. Mm-hmm. Just because I feel like it should be handled in a different way to respect what you've gone through. Right. And just to make the focus more on what happened to you and not so much, because the learning that you're going through is happening along the way. You haven't really, and I don't want to speak for you either. I don't know if you've realized, or like you said, you haven't healed completely yet. Mm-hmm. So I think your journey is going through that right now.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got into the relationship with your, what would you say, your ex-abuser?
Yeah, well, he's actually my ex-husband.
Right.
Yeah, we can get into that later. But, yeah, so I started this relationship with him when I was 16 years old. I remember it was my junior year of high school, I believe, because it was November of 2014. So I was 16, and he was actually 22 years old, so a lot older than I.
Right. When did you meet him? Where?
Where? At his job. It was something... It's crazy because I remember I didn't even want to go that day. I had gotten a new Samsung 5. I'm all about iPhone, but I wanted to give Galaxy a shot. I hate it, by the way. But I had gotten a new phone, so I sold my iPhone 5 to my cousin. He used to work at Cricket. And we went in completely just to get him his new line or whatever. Switched the phone over, and yeah, he asked me for my number, and that's how it started.
Fuck. And Crazy. Then from there, I'm assuming he started reaching out to you, and then...
This should have been, well, not only should the age difference have been such like a big red flag, but it was also that he wanted to move really quickly. I met him on a Thursday. I have really good memory about all of this. It was Thursday, November in 2014. I would have to look back at the date, but it was literally the week before my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday was that Monday. So that's why I know. I met him on a Thursday. Friday we went out. First date, Tempe Marketplace, a movie. He fell asleep the entire movie.
Yeah, it was after work, so it was pretty late. He dropped me off at my house. He had given me one of his scarves, I remember, like with his cologne. And the next day, we went to a quinceañera together. Yeah, so I met him Thursday. That's the night he asked for my number. Friday, first date. Saturday, I remember the quinceañera. Sunday, he wanted to see me. I couldn't. Monday was my mom's birthday. He takes me and my mom out to breakfast, gets her flowers, trying to get her hooked too.
And you, by winning.
Yeah,
you,
like he was trying to win me and my mom over, and he was good at that. So that's how it started. And then I remember it all happened so fast. I think it was the following week, a week later, because it was Thursday that I met him. That Thursday was Thanksgiving. We spent it together at my uncle's. And he asked my mom if he could ask me to be his girlfriend. And that's how it happened. A week later. Like, that is so soon,
But in a girl's mind, you're like, oh my God, this is my Prince Charming.
Yeah, like, it was dumb. I don't know how I thought. And my mom has always been, like, cool with, he was older, but she knew that,
Right.
We didn't know how he was, but she knew that, I don't know. It was a weird situation, but, I mean, I don't hate her for it because it's not her fault. I wanted it, and I went for it, and she was just supportive of that.
Right. And I think, was it your first serious relationship?
It was. I had a little high school relationship before him, which with that guy, I think I was only with him maybe 6 months, and I actually lost my virginity to that guy. Okay. So around the time I met my son's dad, I remember my best friend had done me dirty. Me and this guy fell off. I kind of begged for him because I was like, okay, he just took my virginity. We didn't even last that long. Like, I was so ashamed. And it was a terrible experience, by the way. And I remember my best friend stopped talking to me. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, they started talking. And they just kind of both shut me out. So it was like a double betrayal. I was vulnerable. My mom was like, go out. Like, don't be upset. And literally, we broke up in September, like the end of September. And in November, I meet him. So it was like a month and a half later. Right. It was just, it's weird how everything happened. Right. Crazy.
You fell off from that relationship and sort of like into that guy's arms.
So. And that's another thing is my ex's mom was really annoying. She like literally would just not leave us alone. She was always, we couldn't be inside eating and everybody else be outside in the pool because she would come and be like, the party's outside, come outside. Like, she wouldn't let us be. And then we went to Rocky Point. They went as a family. They took me. And that's where I lost my virginity. So I don't know why she was watching him so hard when he wasn't even a virgin anymore. But, yeah. So I think I liked that when I met, my ex-husband. His mom wasn't involved. Nobody was there to, like, bicker at us and not let us be. And he was older. So I liked that. It was completely 360.
Right. You were with a man,
Yeah, and I was like, okay, his mom's not going to bother us. Like, we can do whatever we want. And I think I was attracted to that.
Yes, and it was all you knew, I'm assuming.
I was young and dumb, and it was like, he was so, like, attentive. And in the beginning, of course, he wanted to look good, He was always, like, paying for me and getting me cute gifts and flowers and trying to take me out and trying to see me every single day, like...
Right. The effort, it's attractive.
Yeah.
So he was winning you. You were like, this is who I'm meant to be with, right?
Right. I thought so. Right. And it doesn't always work out that way.
When was the first offense?
So, physical?
Whatever you consider offense, it doesn't have to be physical, or actually, it's a better, thank you for bringing that up. Does domestic violence, I think, do you think it falls with emotional, verbal, and physical?
All of it.
All of it?
All of it. Only because I experienced it all. The only thing he didn't do to me was sexually abuse me. But I do think he manipulated me after bad situations to have sex with him. I don't know if that's the same thing. To me, like, I consented, Right. But that was the only thing in my mind because everything else, he was verbally abusive, mentally, emotionally, all of it. So I think he was like that since the beginning. But, like, I think it took a few months, maybe 2-3 months, where he was, like, perfect. Just perfect. Like, I'll see you every day. You want this? You're craving this? I got you. Everything. He was so attentive with me that I think I fell in love with him so quickly. And then it started becoming toxic in March. Okay, so November, December, January, February, March. 4 months later, I find out he's cheating on me. So I found that's where all the issues stemmed from, I think, because he was perfect for a few months. Then I found a video of him having sex with another girl. And so he had cheated on me. Tell me why I find that video. I call him and I'm like, wow, you're cheating on me. I had even texted his friend, like, I can't believe you didn't tell me. Like, and tell me why. He comes home from work early. He apologizes. We cry. We hug. He tells me to get ready. We go to IKEA and Buffalo Wild Wings. I remember crying at Buffalo Wild Wings because, like, he was going to move into a new apartment. So he was trying to do some, like, apartment shopping. But he had stayed with me for about a week. But I was young, so I was, like, sleeping with my mom. He was in my room, and he just had his stuff there. But, yeah, I found that video in his laptop. And then after that, I had anger. It started building to me, always bringing it up, throwing it in his face. And then him just being verbal because any little situation, like me having guys on Facebook. I remember there was one guy I specifically talked to that he made me delete my Facebook. And after that, I made him delete his. Later, I found out he still had it. So it was just a lot of lies, cheating, control. Yeah, all of it. So I think it really got bad 4 months in. And it's crazy because I should have gotten out then. Right. But I didn't get out till 4 years later.
Right.
So that's when it started.
But I think what hooked you is how, like you said, how perfect he was in the beginning.
Yeah.
And as a woman, when someone goes above and beyond for you like that, you're like, holy shit, I'm not going to find this anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not saying that you staying was right, but just like trying to get into how was Jasmin's mindset at the time. And I think I understand why you didn't walk away.
Yeah. And in the beginning, it was just the cheating. And I say just because it got worse. Right. Not that it's okay to be cheated on. But a lot of people forgive their partners when they're cheated on, you know? It's nothing out of the ordinary. I've seen it. Not saying that you should, because now I'm just like, it's terrible. But it would happen, and then later I would find out he was talking to another girl, and that's when it just all started. I remember there were certain situations where he would, like, pin me down and, like, choke me because I wanted to leave his apartment because we would be arguing. And he would just get so upset that he would, and I never thought he was capable of actually putting his hands on me. Like, yeah, he would choke me, but it wasn't to where, like, I couldn't breathe, you know? It was just, and I was like, he's just mad, like, he'll get over it. I never thought he was capable of actually hurting me. So that became normal to me, and I was like, okay, it's fine. He does that all the time. Right. So the first, like, physical thing that I remember, and we were talking about this because I feel like I suppressed a lot of things in order to forget about them, that I recall perfectly was in July of 2016. But now looking back, my mom tells me that in May of 2016, when I graduated, they had a hard time doing my makeup because I had a purple eye. And I don't remember that. But I found a picture that proves it. So I think it's crazy. But for me, recalling and remembering, like, the events, it would have been in 2016. So that would have been almost 2 years later.
2 years later was when you remember
him being physical. Yeah.
Got it. And then we also talked off mic about you probably suppressed those memories because you're trying to cope with, like, and to
justify it because I kept staying with him, so I had to justify it in my head. And I remember in the beginning I would tell everyone my business, like in high school, like my friends, like, oh, he cheated on me. And later I stopped doing that because I was like, he just keeps doing worse and worse and worse. And these people are already telling me to leave him. They're already hating him. Like, I don't want that. So I just wouldn't tell anybody anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just started going through it alone.
On my own. And the worst part about it is that there was no communication there. He would cheat on me, and he wasn't the type of person to talk about it. He was just sorry. He just loved me. And it was never like, hey, this is why I did it. I'm genuinely sorry. Like, let's work on us. And I think had he been honest with me about it, it would have been fine. We could have talked through it. But there was much more to him that I didn't know about. And that girl I found in the video was actually his girlfriend. He had 2 girlfriends at once. So he was with both of us for a whole year. So it wasn't the girl's fault either. But I like built up some type of hate for her too,
right?
When it wasn't her fault,
Resentment.
you know.
Yeah. And then I think that's when you said, do you think that's also when you're victim, not saying that you're not a victim, but when your victim mentality did start seeping in? And
I think it began from cheating head on. I was like, he's already doing me dirty. And so in my mind, not only did I have anger, but I would act on it, like we would argue, and I became violent with him. I would bite him and I would smack him. So I do feel like I pushed him to that point, but then not really, because he kept doing it. And
right.
At that point, when he started physically abusing me, I was no longer defending myself because I felt like it would be worse,
right.
It was already bad. I was like, he's going to kill me. Like, right. I was scared. So I wouldn't even defend myself because I feel like it would be worse for me. And so I do feel like I need to hold myself accountable because, I mean, in any relationship, if the girl is abusive, the man will react, So just respect one another. There's no need to, like, if you feel the need to be violent or disrespect one another, then don't be together, you know, because it can turn out to be real bad.
Right. And you were 18 at the time?
At the time, I was 18, yeah. And I remember, it's not that I never left. Like, that first incident, I remember he tended to do, like I'm saying, it wasn't just physical abuse, because there was one time where he got so upset, he threw hot Cheetos, juice, and, like, dumped the trash can out onto the floor, and he's like, pick that shit up, like, I'm leaving. It better be cleaned up by the time I get back. Or he would make a mess in the house and go to work, and he knew I had the day off or whatever, and he would be like, the house better be clean when I get back. Mm-hmm. But that was his way of, like, punishing me.
Right.
So I remember that the first time he hit me, same thing, he had made a mess in the room. And I remember, well, this is the scariest part about that time. I thought he had broken my nose because he headbutted my nose. And I actually have, like, my nose is a little crooked, but good thing you can't tell. I remember him telling me, I was scared, it was bleeding, and I was like, oh my God, like, you broke my nose, like, I need you to take me to the hospital. And I remember, I think he got scared, and he was like, you know what, like, okay, let's go to the hospital. The hospital was like 2-3 minutes away. You could see it from our house. Mm-hmm. And there's the hospital on this side, if you turn right from our neighborhood, and the freeway's on the left side. I remember I thought he was going to take me to the hospital, but he turned left, and he got onto the freeway, and he just drove and drove. And I remember him telling me, like, I'm going to drive you out to the desert, I'm going to kill you, and, like, nobody's going to find you. And I remember being so scared. And you know what's crazy? You see in the movies, like, people, like, crying for help, right. hitting the window, like, they're getting kidnapped or whatever the case right. is. And it's real. Nobody pays attention. Nobody helps you. It's crazy. Like, I experienced that in real life. And after that, we went back home. It was this whole situation. I got out of the car. I went into a building. I came back because he had my phone. He told me he called my dad. He was lying. We went back home. He said he was going to be in the living room watching TV after he just beat me. He's going to watch TV while I clean the room, right? So I jumped out of a window and ran to Starbucks. But I went back the very next day. He manipulated me. My mom did take me to urgent care for my nose. It wasn't broken, thank God. And he was just texting me on an iPad I had. He would just message me, I'm so sorry, I'll pay the hospital bill, this, and that. And I was scared, I think, mostly because it was 2 days before I started a new job at a call center. Mm-hmm. And we had plans that weekend to get me new clothes, and I was going to go shopping, and I was going to start a new job. And I was excited because I wasn't working, And I remember the next day he went and he took me my phone and money for gas, and he left me a car outside, and he put it in, like, the gas tank thingy. And that night he asked to talk to me. We went to the park, we cried, whatever. The next day I went shopping with my friend with a bruised up face, and I went to work on Monday like nothing. And that's how I got back with him, the first time around.
Right. But it's like he knew how to loop you back in.
Oh, yeah. He knew how to manipulate me.
Yeah. By giving you what you wanted.
Not only that, he has a way with words. He can make anyone believe anything. He's smart, but not in the best way. Like, right. In a bad way. And I know that, like, if I were to speak to him, that's why when I left him, I didn't want to speak to him at all. Nothing. He begged me. He cried. He would go to my house and cry to my mom. And I was like, nope, I'm not talking to him. Like, I'm done for real this time. And I didn't. To this day, I don't want to speak to him.
Right. Is it And I'm sorry if this question comes off as insensitive, but do you also want to refrain from talking to him because you're going to fall back into that loophole that he had you in?
Not necessarily. I'm not scared of him anymore. I'm not. And I feel like, yes, I know he would try to manipulate me, and like he's done it. Like he'll email me like, oh, we need to be good parents for Sammy. Like, you know, it's not about us anymore. Like, let's just, and I'm like, nope, it's always going to be about us. You know, like we don't just forget what happened.
Right.
So I answer him. I'm really short with him just because legally I have to answer him because of my son. But I just rather not speak to him. Like if he could just disappear from my life, everything would be fine for me, you know. And it's just because I just want to cut that part of my life out.
Right.
Not that I want to forget about it, but I just don't. I rather cut all ties, you know.
And so because you're not that person anymore.
I'm not. And he could try to manipulate me and he wouldn't. And nobody believed me when I left him. They're like, you're going to get back with him. And I was like, nope. And I didn't.
How hard was that for you? Like saying, I'm done, and people being like, you're lying.
Well, you know what? I think that's what pushed me. In the end, I had so much anger. I had already had my son. I had so much anger towards him. He could have forgotten to take the trash out, and I was going to blow up, start cussing, like, I'm going to leave you, like, I'm tired of your shit, like, it was bad. I had so much, and everyone was like, you're so mean to him, like, why do you talk to him like that? But nobody knew what I was going through inside. So I remember I would go to my mom's house almost every single day because I hated being around him, and he was always at work, and I kind of had this, like, depressive time when I had my son because I was alone all the time. It was just me and the baby.
Right.
So I remember going over and like me and him would argue, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna leave him, like I'm so tired of him, and they would be like, no, you're not. My brother would be like, oh, you always say that, like you're not gonna leave him. So the day that I finally decided to leave him, it was something so stupid, sudden. It was him being jealous, and I was like, I can't do this. Like if he's gonna get mad over something so small. And I remember telling my mom, I'm not gonna go home. And those were the words that I hung on to. I was like, I already told her I wasn't going to go home. Like, I can't go back on my word.
Right. I've committed myself.
Even if I wanted to. In that moment. Like, I was like, nope, I can't do it. Even if I missed him. Even if I felt sad. Even if I still had some type of love for him. I was like, nope. Like, this is the first time I'm actually leaving in 4 years. Like, legit, you know? So I was like, I have to stay away. And I did.
So your strength in being apart was honoring your word.
Yeah.
Being like, I can't fail myself again.
That's what it came down to. And not only that, it had a lot to do with my son. I feel like if I didn't have him, I would have still been in that relationship. Because it was just me I had to fend for then. And I had already let him take all of me. He had already hurt me as much as he could. And when we had our son, we would argue a lot. And when we had our son, that's when I felt like he genuinely did love me. Or in his own way, you know? But I remember we would argue and he would throw a tantrum, lay on the floor and cry and beg me not to leave him. And he would tell me, I'm going to kill myself. When I would hear those words, I would just be like, I do not want my son to be 5 years old in kindergarten in the next room, going to school telling his teacher, like, oh, my dad said he's going to kill himself, not knowing what that means.
Right.
That was like the final straw for me, just hearing him say that. I was like, nope, like I'm not. I experienced this. I used to tell him this when I was pregnant because that's when I started getting hate for him. You know, they say you hate your partner when you're pregnant.
Right.
It's true, but I had bigger reasons, you know. So I remember telling him, like, if I couldn't defend myself from you, like, I'm definitely defending my son. Like, I would always tell him, like, and that's what happened. Like, I just couldn't do it for the sake of my son.
Right. Like you said a little bit earlier, you said that there was a time when it was just you and your son, and because you wouldn't have anybody else to talk to. And we kind of addressed this a little early on in the podcast, is that the reason why I think a lot of women end up and I don't want to speak for everybody, but a lot of the reason why you do end up going back to your abuser is because, do you think it's because you don't really have anybody else to go to because they can't relate to you or they don't know what to say to you? Or
I think that has something to do with it. It's just like disappointing, like not only my family, it's like I already moved out.
Right.
Like I made that decision, I took that step. And I think for me it had a lot to do with love and hope. Like those are huge for me. It was just like, I love him, I can't leave him.
Right.
And in the end I did love him, but that wasn't love, you know.
Right.
So that was always my reasoning, like I love him, and like if there's a string, like the smallest string of hope left, I'm hanging on by it until it just breaks. I have a breaking point, but it takes a lot. And I think with him, I wanted to fix him.
Yeah.
I wanted to fix him.
Yep.
I wanted to fix him, and I just couldn't. And I would tell myself
that would change him.
Because he was always cheating. He was doing this. He was doing that. And I was like, no, like, this can't be it. I would tell myself, like, I need to fix him. He's going to be fine. Like, I can't be the one to give up on him. Everybody does that. You know, like, I can't. And it took everything from me. But, you know.
When you were going through all that, and you wanted to go to somebody and they would just tell you, oh, I'm sorry. And, you know, we can't blame them because they don't know what to say. Being that we are having this conversation and a lot of people are going to listen to it, and maybe somebody that is going through this current situation is going to be tuning in, I want you to kind of shed light onto what you think or what you wanted to hear from people when you would go to them. Like, hey, this is what I'm going through. What was the reaction that you were hoping to get, if there was anything, from that person receiving?
Honestly, I just needed someone to listen. Like, I knew I was wrong for being in that relationship. I knew it wasn't good, but I was in it, and it was happening to me. And that was by choice, maybe, you know? It's not like I said, oh, I want to be in an abusive relationship. Right. But I was already in it, and I kept deciding to stay. So I think a lot of people were just like, oh, I'm sorry, or like, you know, I wouldn't really tell any people in the moment, but I think after is when I realized people don't know how to be here for me when it's something they haven't experienced.
Right.
So I think I would just say for the other person, just listen, console with the hug or whatever. Don't cry. I had so many people, like, nobody could believe it. After I had a cousin that cried and was like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe you went through this and didn't tell anybody. But for me, like, I went through it alone. I don't need you to sit here and cry because you're going to make me cry. Right. Just because I feel bad that these people feel so guilty or bad for not being there. But it's not their fault, you know. In the moment, I remember I would cry myself to sleep almost every night. And he would peacefully sleep next to me. No idea. Next day, normal day, like nothing, you know. But I dealt with it in my own way. And I would say just listen. Just listen. You don't have to say anything because we know. We know it's not a good situation. We know it's hard to be there for someone who, you know, put themselves in a situation that others don't understand. Because I feel like it's hard to even explain, like, I was in this because I love this person. And I remember even being in it, I would tell myself, love is not enough. And it isn't. Like, I need people to know that.
Right.
It isn't. No matter how much you believe it in the moment, it is not enough. And you know, everyone has their own reasonings for staying in situations like that, but I think it's important to know that you're not alone and that it gets better and that you can get out of it.
Right.
It's scary. Like, take action. A lot of people are scared to get a restraining order. I never ever in those 4 years got a restraining order, called the police on him, any of it. There's no record besides my urgent care papers saying that I was in there for domestic violence. No proof, though. I mean, I have pictures and screenshots and stuff, but that's my own personal proof. There's no, like, record legally in the police system or anything that came to, like, after. You know, when we went to court for divorce, child support, all of that. I did put that evidence in the court case, but in the moment, like, that's when you need to take the action, you know. I know you're scared that person might kill you, come after you, because he used to threaten me, like, hey, I know where your family lives, I'll kill them all, like, you know, like, I'm gonna kill you, like. And even the last time, I remember it was so bad. I have screenshots where he's telling me he's gonna kill my son inside my stomach, where he would tell me, like, bitch, you think you can leave me? You can go to Mars and I'll still find you. I'm gonna beat you in front of our kids. Like, he would say this shit to me, you know? And it's scary, but at the end of the day, like, you learn to leave that situation no matter how long it takes.
Right.
And you learn to no longer be afraid of that person.
Right.
You know? And I really think that it has a lot to do with fear. A lot to do with fear.
Fear with, because I've not met, but there's been situations where I've known women who are victims in a relationship, and a big part of the reason why they don't call the police is, well, they might hurt him and he might go to jail for a long time, or da-da-da.
Who cares?
Right, and that's what I was going to get to. Do you think that's also part of the fear why women don't report anything?
100%. 100%. But you know what? You shouldn't care. Because he didn't care when he was beating you to the floor. He didn't care when he was calling you a bitch and a whore for having a guy friend, which is not reason enough to be insulting you. I don't care if I sleep with your dad. You don't have, and I know that sounds extreme, but you don't have the right to hit me. Like, right. Who are you? Right. You're a stranger in any case I fell in love with. So why are you entitled to hit me? Right. You're not. So I really think us women, it's hard. I'm not going to say get over it and just do it. Because it's so hard. And in the moment, we don't have rational thinking. Yeah. We don't. And this is the thing. I knew I was going to leave him. I didn't know how long it was going to take me. Everyone would tell me, like, Jazz, you have to get out of this. Like, you can't be living like this. And I would tell them, like, I'm going to leave him. I just don't know when, you know? But I knew it. Right. I knew. But everyone has a breaking point. And right. I think it has a lot to do with fear. But I think you shouldn't care. I think you need to worry about your self-being. Because even if that person's not trying to kill you, they could literally punch you into a wall or punch you into, like, you know, the counter, and you break your neck and you're dead, and it was unintentional, but you lose your life because, you know, you allowed yourself to be in the situation. So you were completely engulfed by fear. You were fear, and you were emotional, and you were stressed all the time, and you were anxious. It was fear, love, and hope. I tried mixing them all, and it was just bad. Like, it was like, there's no hope left here. Right. And I remember thinking, like, he loves me, like, he has to, he's not gonna do it again. And then he would do it again. And the last time was the initial time for me. But it's crazy how everything happened, because I remember being in a bathtub with water, and he was asking me questions. If I didn't answer correctly, he would whip me with the charger. And I remember looking him in the eyes and begging him to stop hitting me. And he would look dead at me and keep hitting me. That's not love. And I remember after, like, the whole situation, I told myself, that's not love. Like, I have to leave. And that was when I realized I was, like, deep in this and I had to get out. Come 2-3 weeks later, I find out I'm pregnant. And that is why I stayed after, right. You know. For even longer. So it's crazy. Like, it dragged out much more when I could have avoided it. And I'm not going to say that because it sounds bad. And it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's my fault because it's not. But, you know. There were windows for you to get out. There were, and I didn't take them. Right. And I advise anyone who's going through it, get out. Right. Don't hold on to hope. And you get scared because it's like, what is my family going to think? Right. You know, what is my family going to think? They're going to judge me. Like, that is so embarrassing. Like, I allowed myself to go through this. But they're more supportive than you think. Mm. And if your family's not supportive, if your friends aren't supportive, there's a domestic violence hotline. Yes. There's domestic violence groups. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to tell my story. It's because if I can help one person, if one person can feel the need to come talk to me, mm-hmm. I will gladly open my doors, you know. I'm so open and I don't care. I will tell this story from beginning to end if I could just help someone, you know. Right. So I think that it has a lot to do with that as well. It's just like, what are people going to think? But who cares? Like, yes, this is a part of your story, but it does not define you, you know? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes. And thank you for saying that, because I think also a big part of why women, and I understand why you wouldn't want to share this, you know, mm-hmm. and I understand, because there's a lot of shame, like you said. Oh, why did I put myself through that? And then from that, you just start deteriorating yourself as a woman, mm-hmm. you know? Because as a woman, we're told we're supposed to be valued. And even then, not enough, mm-hmm. you know? Yeah. I wish I would, like, for example, do you remember your mom telling you that you're a valuable person? That, you know, you're a strong woman, like, things like that. Like, I feel like more of that language should be included in us as girls, you know, because then we get blinded by these men who are so easy and sweep you off your feet and then turn out to be. But you know what? It's a different generation now. I don't know if I ever heard those exact words from my mom, but I feel like I had a lot to live up to, because after my mom was like a single mom, and she was so good at it, and she had 3 kids, and she was so independent and the head of the household, and she, you know, I didn't have a bad childhood. I didn't. Like, yes, there was cheating involved on my dad's side. Right. My stepdad cheated on her. That's terrible. And I feel like maybe that's where even though she didn't tolerate it, she was getting cheated on, so I got cheated on. Okay, moving on, you know. My grandparents, my grandpa used to beat and cheat on my grandma. They have 12 kids together.
Same.
Yeah.
My mom's mom.
So, but it's crazy because I would come in later and see my grandma and grandpa fighting, and my grandma, oh, I can't stand him anymore. They're 80-something years old.
Yeah.
I was like, that is my life if I do not leave.
Exactly.
And that is another reason why I left.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I didn't have a bad childhood. I do feel like I had a lot to live up to. So when I allowed these things to happen to me, I was scared to tell my mom because she was this strong, independent woman who didn't need a man. To this day, she is. So how do I beat that? How do I tell my mom that looking to how she is and me having a decent childhood, I still went off and let this happen to me? You know, I felt like I was going to be judged or degraded or whatever, and I didn't want to feel that way. So I just kind of left it in.
Right.
My mom didn't know how bad it was until I got out, which is crazy because she didn't even want me to hire a lawyer or anything until I showed her pictures, and then she was like, okay.
You need to do something. That's what
Yeah.
I told you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
now going off of like the questions that I prepared, what fears or baggage did this create for you in future relationships or whatever?
oh, girl. I feel like there's a lot. Like I said, I feel like this is my road to recovery. I'm not 100%, and I don't know if I ever will be like 100% good from this, you know? But I mean, I do have like so many trust issues. You can't play fight with me. I will get triggered.
For a reason, yes.
Yeah, it's like you cannot play fight with me because I just picture myself in a bathtub getting beat with the charger, you know?
Right.
So I feel like it has installed so many fears. Not only with that, but it's like I don't know what anybody's capable of, you know? Because in that situation, I didn't think this person was capable, and he was. Right. So I just think I have a lot of little fears, you know? Especially having a son now. It's like, what if I end up with somebody else like that?
Right.
And it's like, I don't want that.
Right.
So it's scary. I am in a new relationship now. Not to say that it is. I mean, it's a good relationship, but I have issues, you know. But who doesn't? You know, we all have our own issues. I just want to try to work on myself so I don't portray those on that relationship, because then it's just toxic for both of us. I feel like I am a toxic person, you know, and I'm working on it. But I do think that it has a lot to do with my mental state. It was down for so long. I did feel depressed. I did feel suicidal. I did question myself a lot. I would cry. I'm still so insecure, but not as much as I was. Like, It's getting better, you know? I used to just feel sorry for myself, you know? And it's like, for what? Like, some people have it worse. We're all going through something, you know? You don't know a person just by looking at them. You can't judge them just by looking at them. Like, what if they're going through the worst thing in the world and you're sitting here being mean to them for no reason?
Right.
Like, we just need to be kind to each other.
Right.
I feel like. And I do have a lot of issues. I feel like I snap quick. I'm really defensive. Like, I'm really sensitive. Like, but... you know, those are things that I'm going to have to work on through time.
Right. And given your circumstances, I think the state that you're in now is sort of a miracle. Like I told you in the beginning, I admire how you're able to function given what you've been through, and how you're so willing to, this is who I am. And this is what I went through, but that doesn't define me, you know? Like, you don't you're not, and this is not to discredit or call other women weak for what they've gone through, because this is a very traumatizing experience. And what you've gone through, no woman deserves to go through, you know? But I must say, what you just said right now is amazing. Like, the fact that you're not letting yourself be defined by those years of your life.
Thank you.
And how you're like, I want to be a better person, and how you realize that you are toxic, and that's okay because of what you've gone through. And not only that, but like, I feel like you know that you're gonna get better, you know. This isn't it for you. And how we like discussed in the beginning, you're like, I may not have it all right now, but you will will one day, especially because you're deciding. You're like, I don't want to stay here.
If you take those steps to better yourself, better will come to you. I did have like a moment where I was all about like my PTSD, or I don't know if I clinically have that or if I am depressed like clinically,
Right.
but I felt like it because it was just so bad mentally. I was really mean to myself, you know, and they say treat yourself like you treat others, and you should, you know, like you love these people unconditionally, but you can't love yourself like that. And I think the first step to me wanting to better myself was holding myself accountable, and was like, okay, I am this person, I do have these issues, I did go through this, but why am I gonna let that person and this situation hold that much power over me?
Right.
He already took 4 years of my life. When I left that situation, girl, I cannot explain the freedom that I felt. I felt so free, so happy. I was like, wow, I don't have to tell someone where I am every second of the day. I don't have to reply to someone or worry about them yelling at me when I get home. Like, I felt so free. And I think that's another reason why I never went back. It was like, wow, like there's much more to life than
Right.
being with the person who treats you this way.
Right.
And not only that, but it has a lot to do with, like I said, hold yourself accountable and realize that you can't feel sorry for yourself forever. When I left, the biggest thing for me was wasted time. I was like, wow, I wasted so much time. You know, not to say because I do not regret my son, but I could have been a regular 18-year-old in college. And I went to college for a semester, but I didn't want to. I wanted to take a break, a semester off. Do you think he let me do that? No. It was like having a parent in your household who you would sleep with and answer to, you know, because I had to ask for permission to use money when we both had a joint account and we both worked and made about the same. Like, it was just really, really controlling. And it's bad. So I think that the biggest thing for me was wasted time. But you can't reflect on the time that you already lost because
It's pointless.
what are you going to get out of that? You need to just look forward to the future.
Right.
I'm 21 years old. Yes, I lost that time. But I'm going to spend more time feeling sorry for myself, waste another 4 years, be in the same place. I was like, I can't. Like, I need to do something. I have a son. Like, I need to be okay in order for him to be okay. And it always gets better. Nothing is ever 100% okay because there's always, one way or another, sadly, something is wrong in your life because nothing and nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
But, you know, be positive. Know that you can get better. Know that you can move forward because otherwise, life is fun. It's, you know, like, even just sitting around laughing with your friends. Like, you can't tell me that's not a good time.
Yeah.
But you can't close yourself off to all of that if you're just going to feel sorry for yourself and sit in your room and cry all the time. Not that it isn't healthy because I think it's okay to cry and it's good for your soul to just let it out.
Right.
But not when you're crying yourself to sleep every night like I was, or crying and thinking about killing yourself every night, you know? Like, you need to know that there's more to you and that you're strong and that it will get better, you know?
Right. And I think what you said is important. You're kind of supposed to go through that, you know? You were healing, you were grieving, because I think you were like saying goodbye to like the old Jasmine, you know? Not only did you end that relationship, you ended that relationship with yourself. You realized that you were a valuable person, a valuable person that does not deserve to go through what she went through, you know? And you were willing to, now I have a responsibility to heal myself and have my son keep going and have someone to admire, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's something that you want to share with your son, but I'm sure that if he knew what you've gone through, that's admirable. It really is, because you decided not to stay there and marinate in my past experiences, and this is what I went through, and this is how much I hurt. You know, you took a step, and you're like, no, this is the end, and I'm gonna become the better me, a different me.
Yeah, and it does suck because it's like, that is the father of my child, and I would never want to just take that away from him. But, you know, not getting into too much details, some people just never change, and I'm not going to put my child in a situation where I feel like he's unsafe, no matter how good you're going to pretend to be, because I know that side of you, you know, and you can't fool me. Like, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I see right through you.
100%. What did this teach you about yourself? And it sounds insensitive. I know the question sounds insensitive, but I think through suffering and all this stuff, it makes you uncover a new side of you that you never knew that you had. For example, your willingness to move forward. but not to answer for you. What did you end up learning about yourself?
I think the biggest thing for me was that I need to love myself. I feel like never in 21 years, I don't feel like I've ever loved myself. Ever. Like, that's why I allowed it. Like, it was like, oh, well, he loves me. But I didn't love myself, so how did I expect him to love me, And not to say that I, love myself 100% now, but I do like the person that I'm becoming, And not only that, I learned that I have the biggest heart in the world and that it's I really need to find someone who deserves it, because if you're on a good end with me, then it's good, because I love so hard. But I do think it's really important for people to know that you need to love yourself, whether you're in that situation or not, because even if you're going through it, it's going to be okay. You're there. You need to, keep your head up, because in that situation, you feel so low. You feel so, it's it's degrading. It really is, for someone to, step all over you like that and think it's okay, and then just to act like nothing later. That person has issues, but that doesn't mean you need to stay there and deal with them, So I think it's important. I think I learned that I need to love myself, and I'm working every day to get there,
Right. And that's all that matters. And like you said, you're maybe not all the way there now, but you will be. Going back, we keep just jumping around.
There's a lot to the story, girl.
Yeah, but what you said, a lot of what these abusers tell you, you're this, you're that, you're worthless, you're blah, blah, blah. That is a direct projection of how they feel about themselves. Would you say so?
Definitely. I think they portray all their insecurities and fears on the other person to make themselves feel better, but then they act on it, and it's bad because, like me, in those 4 years, I never cheated on him. Towards the end, the last time he hit me, I guess I emotionally cheated on him because I was talking to another guy, but I was never, physical with him. But I think when someone treats you that way and you start to realize it, and someone starts giving you good attention elsewhere, not that I'm saying it's okay to cheat, because, girl, I've been cheated on so many times. It is not a good feeling. I'm not saying go cheat on your partner, but I'm trying to explain why I was talking to someone else at that time. He would become distant, and then the next day, he would be so in love with me. And it was like, well, choose one, because you make me feel like shit.
Right.
You make me feel so low. You make me feel like you just have me here to do whatever you want with me. But then when I go and talk to someone who's being nice to me, I'm a whore.
Right.
Okay, but I had to watch you have sexual intercourse with another person on a screen, and all I got was a nice sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry. And he made me believe that it was one time. Oh, that's my ex. I just slept with her once. When he was dating her for a whole year. And you know what? I'm going to say this. God gives you signs. Take them every single time, because let me tell you something. Later that year that I found out he was cheating on me with this specific girl, I became obsessed with her. And I know that sounds crazy, but I would stalk her social media and I would judge. Later she got into a new relationship, but I was still obsessed with her.
Right.
Even after I left him, that's when I was like, you know what, that's enough.
Yeah.
I'm not even in this anymore. This girl is doing her own thing. And I spoke to her several times. But when I found out, November in that same year, he goes off. He was in the Marines. He goes off for 2 weeks or something. Or I think it had to be June or July. I don't remember the exact time frame. But he went off for 2 weeks. He left me his car. I go to Arizona Mills with my best friend. Guess who I see there?
No. The girl.
I saw the girl there. There's this little raspados and chips place. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm paying, and my best friend is like, did you see who's there? And I was like, no. And I look over, and it's her. And I cannot tell you, my literal heart fell to my stomach. And I didn't know he was still with her at this point. But us girls being crazy, I texted him trying to get him to spill it. And I was like, I saw your little girlfriend here. I know you're still with her. And he told himself out. I had no idea he was still seeing her. And just because I was like, oh, I've seen her, I know you're with her, he started apologizing and shit. And I was like, wow,
Again.
But that's a sign. That was God telling me, you need to leave this man. And I didn't take it. I went and I cried about it.
And then you made up about it.
Yeah, and he came back and I stayed with him. you know? And it's unhealthy, not only for me, but for the relationship and the other person. Like, when it's happening so often, because I understand, I'm not saying leave, because some people can work it out. Some people are married forever. One person cheats, you can get past it. Good for you. Go to therapy.
Right.
Don't sit there and try to play detectives and therapists and all this, because you are not. And once issues like come up, like, it's hard to manage so many of them, you know? And when it's happening that often, take a hint and leave.
Right.
Yes, like, you shouldn't have that many issues with some person that you love. Like, you're working on building a life together, and you have to worry about them cheating. I was crazy all the time, like, stalking other girls. If he had them on Instagram or something, I would go add them on my Snapchat. Like, I was crazy. And it's like, who wants to be with someone like that?
Yeah.
I was being toxic to myself. I would go through his phone all the time. But you know what? He had no respect for me. Because I remember one of the girls he cheated on me with, I went to high school with. The girl told me whatever, but I still had her on my Instagram because I didn't do nothing. I was cool with this girl in high school. She came to me as a girl and told me, like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys were together. Tell me why. I made him block her. I remember I was pregnant. And this guy, I guess he went into my Instagram on my phone and messaged her. The next day I wake up and this girl was like, hey, like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? And she said, well, you were messaging me last night. And I was like, no, I wasn't. And she's like, yeah, like, you were telling me that you wanted to have a threesome with me and him.
No.
I was pregnant. Like, the disrespect. And I was just so hurt. And I remember telling him, like, do you have something you want to tell me? And he said no. And I showed him the screenshots. And I just started crying. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, but there was so many things, so many signs. And all I got to say is red flags.
Right.
If they're waving them in your face and you still go, like... You know,
right.
There's so many guys in the world, and not even that. Love yourself, focus on yourself before you get into anything. Because especially, like, even me now, I'm the perfect example. I didn't fully heal before I got into something else, and I feel like it's important. That's why I want to focus on healing myself. I don't want to damage this person for my own issues, you know. Right. So I think it's so important to focus on yourself and then move forward.
Right.
Even if you're not that young, like, life goes on, and you know, like, I'm 21, like, I don't need to be. It's crazy. I just think, you know, if you see the red flags, the signs, because they're always there, walk away.
They're always there, but we choose to oversee them because I think, like you said, we have that I can fix him complex. And I think, going back to what you said, you were just holding on to love and hope. Like, he will change for me, you know. But
you can't fix somebody who doesn't want to be fixed, or who doesn't see a problem in their actions, who doesn't know that they're broken. Right. You know, like, you can't. I'm sorry. Just move on. Fix yourself and then move on, you know. It's crazy, but
I also think don't be... I can't even say, well, don't be mad at yourself, you know, that's who you were, but it's, at the time, that's all you knew, you know, so there was no getting better.
Yeah, and that's the thing I tell everyone is so shook by the story. They see pictures, they see screenshots, and they're shook. I'm telling you, people cry, and I'm sitting here talking about it like nothing, because that was my normal, like, that's all I knew, and it was just, like, okay to me, and it's not okay, but... And it's hard not to be mad at yourself, but I think it's important to realize that it wasn't your fault. Right. Like, these abusers have a way of manipulating you. Because they're not just going to start abusing you right away. They're not just going to, you know, they start dropping little hints, and then it gets bad, and it gets worse, and it gets worse. And by that point, they have you hooked. Right. And they know you're going to stay. And, you know... And that's why I wanted to do this, too, because I remember looking up, like, videos and stuff. All I could find was, like, videos on, like, narcissist people. There wasn't anyone dedicated to wanting to spread the word or, like, raise awareness. And I think it's such a huge topic, and it's so important. So, like, yeah, I've seen a few story times of, like, a person with a YouTube channel who is telling their story, but it's one video. Right. I can have a whole channel on this. I can go on about this all day because I think it's so important. And it has much more to do with just the physical part of it. You know, it's the emotional part. It's what led you to do there. How did you feel in the situation? How did you feel when you got out? Right. You know, it's not just, oh, he hit me and I'm out of it. And because you still struggle even after.
How did you feel when you got out?
I think it's a roller coaster because when I first got out, like I said, I felt so free and I felt happy and I was like, okay, I'm good. Like all these guys were hitting me up, hyping me up, and I was like, I was here with this bum ass boy crying over him every night for 4 years. Like I was getting a lot of attention and I liked that at the moment, you know, but it was also a phase where I liked the attention because I was so insecure and I wasn't fully content with myself. But I think it went on like that for about maybe 6 months, and the next 6 months were hell. It was bad.
Grieving.
Yeah, it was my grieving, and it was bad because everyone expects you to be out of the situation and be okay. They're like, you're out of that now, like your son is healthy, you're healthy.
But you don't understand.
Yes, it's traumatizing. It's something that you start to question yourself. I remember thinking, like, why did he do this to me? Did I deserve it? Like,
No.
why did he feel so entitled to put his hands on me? And I remember he ended up getting a new girlfriend. And I remember even with that, I would tell myself, okay, he looked like he was doing better and I thought he had changed. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that because it's not my story to tell. But I feel like I thought he had changed for another person. And that made me upset. He took this girl to court with him. You know, like, why are you bringing another girl into our business? It was upsetting to me. And I had my boyfriend. I wasn't going to take him to court with me. And I would joke about it to him. And he's more mature. And he's like, no, like, that's your problem. Like, I don't want to go and, you know, cause more drama. But he did that, and for what? To rub your new girlfriend in my face, not knowing that I already have somebody new. So I just think that it was a roller coaster for sure, and I was really depressing, and I was really, like I said, suicidal. Like I had all these thoughts of like, there's no point. I would tell myself, I lived enough. I've seen enough. Like everything I've been through is enough for one lifetime. Like I don't want to see more. Like if it gets worse,
Right.
you know. And like I was telling you, I feel like I literally turned into an adult in this relationship that now I'm an actual adult and I don't know how to be an adult because it was toxic, it was unhealthy, and he managed everything the way that he wanted to. So now I need to figure out how to do things the right way. Yeah.
Your way. 100%.
So it was scary for a while. I would tell my mom like, oh, I want to die, and she would just be like, she would get mad. She's like, you're so dumb. Like, why do you think like that? Like, you're good now. And I would be like, I'm not good. Like, I'm crazy. Like, I'm depressed. Like, you know, and they didn't understand it. But then I started thinking, like, for what? Like, why am I crying here? Like, and it gets better. And it took her, not only that, my boyfriend telling me to stop being negative because, you know, he runs a whole business and stuff and he has his stress. And he would tell me, because I would complain a lot all the time. And he was like, you're so negative. Like, I am stressed out all the time. You bring your stress upon me, and it's just hard to like talk to you. He's like, I don't even know what to say to you anymore because you're just so negative. And it just took a few things for me to be like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I'm good now. You know, like, it's going to get better. I'm not in this anymore. Like, if I had the strength to get out of that, how much more am I capable of?
Exactly.
And I used to tell myself when I was with him, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to become a motivational speaker for domestic violence. But how am I going to do that when I'm still in the relationship?
Exactly. Or when you're
still mourning or grieving from that.
Moping, when you're... And I think it's what you said earlier as well, as you no longer... You did not... It almost sounds like you were done being a victim. You're like, I went through it and I'm done. That's it. You know, I'm not going to win anything by laying here crying, going over every event in detail over and over in my head.
Yeah.
Why did he do this to me? Why did he do that to me? Granted, it's horrible.
It is, and
that
it's
you
not
went
easy.
through it. Exactly. And the fact that you were depressed and suicidal, like, that is normal. You know, that if you didn't go through that, then I would think you were crazy because you went through something traumatizing. At the age that you had, he took a fifth of your life. You know, it's 4 years. 4 years, like, that's a long time. That's a reality, you know, like, especially when you start out that young, like, he literally set up, like, your outlook for life. You're like, okay, so everybody's like this.
And not only that, like, a lot of people would ask me, because I ended up marrying this man even after all the abuse. I married him. I had a child with him. We bought a house together. Like, it's so much deeper than anyone knows. And so I think that it has a lot to do with all the mental, you know, confusion that you're going through. He knew how to manipulate me into, like, we have to get married in order to buy this house. We should buy a house because we're having a baby. Like, they know how to get you, and it's crazy to me. But I just think it's important to pick yourself up, because, you know, I don't want him to have that power over me anymore. He had it for so long. Even after I left him, he would come crying to my mom's house, even after, like, supposedly to see the baby. And he would be like, I'm sorry, like, I know, like, oh, you look good, Jazz. Like, I'm sorry for hurting. Don't be telling me I look good. No. Like, I know I look good. I don't need you to tell me, like, excuse you. But, like, he would do that. And then another reason why I don't want to speak to him is just because I was trying to be civil even after I left him. And he would try to taunt me using the baby. And I'm not trying to use the baby to be like, oh, I'm punishing him. He hurt me. I don't care. Good for him. He got whatever he got out of that. But I really think it's important. Like, this is my son's safety we're talking about. Everyone thinks like, oh, well, he thinks I'm using the baby to not let him see him just because I'm upset. And at first I was letting my emotions get the best of me. But no, I'm not. And I know as a mom, anybody who would have gone through that and know what he's doing these days, that it's scary to even want your child near a person like this. I don't care if that's his dad. There's dads who kill their own children. There's dads who rape their own children. It's a scary world out there. And if I know what he did to me and it could get worse, and if he's not getting the help that he needs, if he doesn't have the support system that he needs, because his family would neglect him all the time. After I left him, who do you think he had left? Nobody, but he would go with his family. No matter how much anger and hate he had towards them because they never got along, that's where he ended up. And that's where he was taking my son. And why do I want to allow this screwed up family dynamic? No offense to them. I hope they get better, all of them. But it's like, I don't want my son to be confused. I have to go to my dad's and I have to go to my mom's. And then in his mom's having like this loving atmosphere where, you know, we want good for him. And then going to his dad and seeing his dad fighting with his grandma. Like, I'm telling you, I left this man a year and like 3 months ago. And in February of 2018, his mom was helping us watch the baby. They got into an argument. She took it out on the baby. She's like, I don't want to watch him anymore. You find somebody else. Figure it out. And even now, after I left him, had she reached out to me like, hey, I want to see my grandchild, happily, hey, let's go out to dinner, or I can take him over to your house, as long as they respected the fact that me and his dad were separate and we had a legal situation going on there, I would have been happy to do so. Also, he has 4 sisters. His dad, nobody reached out. Nobody cared. I remember him crying and calling his sister. She left me. And they were like, well, he had them on speaker. And I was there and he was crying. And they were like, well, you guys are married. You guys need to figure it out. You guys need to talk it out. Like, hell no, I'm not figuring shit out. Like, I tried. I gave everything I had to give. And it wasn't enough for him. But it will be enough for somebody else.
Right.
So, like, I was done with that. And
I think the fact that you even still let him, and this is none of my business, granted, none of my business at all, but the fact that you still give him the benefit of the fact to let him allow to see your son, knowing the type of person he is, wow. That's all I have to say, because I would be scared of that, you know?
Yeah.
And your son is an angel, like, just by, like, the pictures that you're showing me. So I wouldn't even want him to be exposed to that. But it's hard, because, like you said, like, that's your son's dad.
And I didn't want to be that mom that's, like, using, like, everyone's like, oh, baby mamas are so hateful. Like, I didn't want to be that girl. So I was like, okay, like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But he would take him, and I would tell him, you can't keep him overnight. Because when I left him, he wasn't eating, he wasn't sleeping. He literally lost so much weight. I remember he would always, even then, he would message me like, hey, like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, I'm just calling you to say goodbye. Like, I just don't, like, have a point. Like, you took my family away from me. I remember going to our house, which he was still living in, and finding him in the closet, my son's closet in his room, sleeping in the closet. Literally cuddled up with a picture of me and the baby and a teddy bear. I'm sorry, but you're crazy.
Yes, 100%.
And that's why I was scared. But I would let him see him out of respect. And I didn't want him to, like, see me on the street and want to kill me because I was doing, you know, I wanted to be rational. I would let him see him, and then he would just taunt me, like, oh, I'm keeping him overnight, after I had already told him no, like I don't agree with that. Like, and until I took him to court, like it was fine. I was like, you know what, we're gonna do things the right way, because I'm not gonna be dealing with you deciding what you want to do, because it was annoying. And I had to change my number even after I changed it the first time I gave it to him, because he was seeing the baby. But after, in March, I changed my number. He does not have my number. I don't want him to have my number.
Nor should he have it.
He emails me. Legally, that's what he needs to do. He cannot talk to me otherwise. Like, it's all through email. And obviously, I don't have him on any social media or anything. Like, obviously, like, he might come across my YouTube video. Whatever. Good for him. But that's as far as it goes. Like,
right.
I don't know. But I just think, you know, I try to be rational, and it doesn't always work out for you. Sometimes it's for the best that they're not involved.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because it's in situations where, like, there's all these deadbeat baby daddies that just don't want to be involved in their child's life. And then he's over here trying. Like, don't try. Just leave us alone, you know? Yeah. As bad as it sounds. You would want your child's father to be there for your son. Right. But in this case, I'm sorry. That's what I was gonna tell you. But he's good. Like, I didn't really have my dad around. No hate towards him. That's another long story, you know. We talk here and there. Do I think he gives a fuck about me? No. But but you know, what's new, girl? We all go through it in some way. And I wish he would be the type to just be like, well, fuck you and fuck my kid. But no, he's there still trying to freaking ruin my life.
And you know what's crazy? I think, and not to say that dad should leave, but the moment that my dad stopped caring was when things just started getting better.
Yes.
Like, what is going on? You know, but that's a
sometimes they're the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Once that, because toxic people, and I'm gonna get a little spiritual about this, but when you have like that much bad energy around you, nothing goes right. Look, I remember, and not that my dad was like an abuser, he was just depressed. Super depressed.
And it's because when people have their own issues and they don't get help, they project that on. It's bad for your kids, for your family. And I'm going to say this freely. If there's toxic people in your life, I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your family.
Cousins, grandparents, let them go.
How do you navigate your life through them, you know? I'm not saying shut them out, never talk to them again. But, you know, you can cut them off.
Yeah. If there's no need to be there around them.
If they're just dragging you down, not being supportive, and making your life worse.
Not only that, but like jealousy and families.
Oh, yeah.
Or like that. I remember being a kid and I'm like, there's no way. And then you start growing up or you go through experiences like these and you're like, holy shit, like they're more common than you think, you know?
Yeah. And it's crazy because you go through things like this and you realize, I remember like growing up and finding out all this crazy shit that I'll probably get into later, like on YouTube or something. But it's like, this is real life. Crazy shit happens. Like, you see this in the movies? No. That like, I've seen people get abused on TV, and that was me, you know? Like, the whole car example. Like, you've seen where nobody gets help. I was literally like, knocking on a window, yelling, crying, and they don't help you.
You're like, there's no way.
Yes.
There's no way. But
like, if I see that, I'm going to write down the freaking plate number. Perfect example. The other day, just a short story time. The other day, I was driving home from work, and this triggered me. I saw a couple in the car next to me, and I could see them perfectly. You could tell they're arguing because the girl's going at it, hand gestures and everything, yelling. And, girl, it triggered me because I look over, and this girl just punches the guy in the face as they're arguing in the car. He's driving, mind you, but we're at a red light. She punches him. His hat flies off his head. He didn't hit her, so shout out to him, at least in front of me, because I would have flipped. I didn't know what to do. I was like, do I cry? Right. Do I get the license plate number? But literally, like, she hit him, and he was all up in her face, and then he was upset, like, you could tell, obviously. And I was so scared, because I was like, girl, he's going to beat your ass when you get home. And they, like, stopped, and then they almost swerved into a car once the light turned green, until he turned into, like, a neighborhood. But that shit triggered me. I was like, Lord, like what do I even do in that situation? Because I know what she feels. But why does she punch him?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's why I'm saying hold yourself accountable. Like, if you get beat, I'm sorry. I'm not saying it was your fault. But don't poke the bear. I did that, and look at how it worked out for me. Like, You can't expect to be abusive to someone and not have them react. And I think a lot of us girls think that way. Like, if I hit him, he's not going to hit me. I'll send him to jail. A lot of girls have that mentality. And it's screwed up because, no, they will get in your head and they will fucking ruin your life, girls. So don't do it,
right.
you know?
Right.
No, it's scary.
That's not an answer. Like, that should not be the way to resolve things or to have
I just
power
think
over somebody.
A couple in general should not be violent towards one another. Talk shit out. Give each other space. Go for a drive. I don't know. But don't hit each other. Like, it's scary. It hurts.
Okay, so just because we're running, literally in here in this room, it feels like a time capsule. Like, time to slow down. But anyway, we have a little bit of time left.
Okay.
Before we wrap it up, I just want to give you more room to say anything that we've possibly missed, what you want for the future, where they can find you, and what they can expect from you, because I feel like after this episode, you're really going to help a lot of women. Mm-hmm. And you're probably going to get the ball rolling on, not probably, you're going to get the ball rolling on what you want to do, which is you want to be, like you said earlier, a motivational speaker for domestic violence, or just like maybe even the face of it, you know, maybe you start a foundation, I don't know, you know, but you're definitely going to align with your purpose. Knowing that, is there anything else that you would want to say here right now?
I don't know. I just want everyone to know that it's going to be okay. Whether you're going through anything, you know, like, I'm not going to say this is the only thing I've gone through. Like, I've gone through, not to put myself out there too much, because I will on YouTube. I don't care. Like, I'm an open book. I'm telling you this. Like, my mom had 7 brain aneurysms. She had to get 3 open brain surgeries. Like, this is not the only bad thing that has happened in my life, but it's the biggest and it's the hardest.
And what's happened to you.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying is, like, it gets better. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's all I have to say is don't be ashamed. It happens to more people than you know. And I think it's important to talk about it because a lot of people don't even know they're in something toxic. To them, it's normal, like I said. And even you have told me, like, I want to put screenshots and pictures. I want to put myself out there. I want people to see how bad it was and how okay I am now. Because, you know, if I don't, who will? Nobody's going to put themselves out there like that. And I don't care. I want people to know that you can be at the lowest point in your life and still get back up. Without getting into too much detail, this man literally ruined my life, okay? He stopped paying our house. My credit is shit. Like, so many things happened. It wasn't just he beat me and I'm traumatized. No, now he's my ex-husband. I ruined my first marriage on that man. It lasted literally a year and 6 months. We were only officially, like, married together for less than a year, and then we got officially divorced a year and a half later. You know, like, from when we got married. We just got married to buy a house. I kid you not, the week before he was like, the week before we got our keys to our house, we went to go get married in court. If that does not, I never got a proposal. It was never, oh my God, I love this man so much, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with him. He manipulated me into it. So don't let people ruin your life. Like, don't be scared to reach out. Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to everyone. Shoot, like, and I don't want to, like, put this on a note where, like, I want to relate to, like, rape victims or people who get kidnapped, because that's something they couldn't control, something that happened to them that they didn't ask for. I can't speak on that, but I just want everyone going through anything to know that it gets better. And if you don't have anyone there for you, come talk to me. Like, I can talk all day, and I'm not
to anybody.
To anybody. Like, I will sit down next to you and I will tell you my whole life story, and I don't care, because not that I want you to be impressed by it, but I want you to know. Like, it's the message. It's not my story. It's the message. Exactly. And just, you will be okay. It will get better. Stay positive. You know, love yourself.
Begin again. It's okay to begin again.
That was, like, the beginning to the end of that, but it was the beginning to me loving and flourishing. Like, had he not done that to me, I wouldn't be here today telling this story. So I have to think of it on a positive note. Maybe I will write a book someday.
I think you should.
I think I should too, but I'm gonna start on YouTube because everyone's on the internet. Everybody in the mamas, you know. So I'm just trying to, like, help someone. That's all I want to do, is help people. I don't care if I don't gain anything. To me, helping someone is gaining something.
Yes, having someone admire you, because what you're doing is admirable. You know, what you're doing is very brave. You're putting your name out there, and you're saying, I'm Jasmin, and this is my life, and it gets better.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people can't do that.
I feel like some people just need to hear that. They need to know they're not the only ones. They need to know that them feeling that shitty isn't just them. Like, somebody else feels exactly how you do.
Right.
They might be in the same place. They might be worse, or they might be better. And if they're better, you can get better.
Right.
You know? Anything is possible.
Yes, it is.
If you set your mind to it.
And your current circumstances aren't definite.
Mm-hmm.
They'll change for the better.
Girl, change is inevitable.
100%.
Everything changes so quick. 4 years flash before my eyes. I'm telling you. I'm 21 years old with an almost 2-year-old, divorced. Like, I have this big story to tell, and I don't feel important for it, but I just want to put it out there. You know,
I think you should do it.
I remember when I left him, there was my aunt's friends. We've been like friends with them for a while, but they're older. And one of them told me, she was like, I am so proud of you. She's like, you did something that she didn't know what I was going through, but she's like, you did something that a lot of us older women can't even do. Mm-hmm. She's like, and I'm just so proud of you. Mm-hmm. And that just melted my heart, because it was like, you know what? I did that.
You're right.
Like, I did that, and you can too. Like, don't be scared. Life is wonderful. You just have to make it that way. Exactly. There's good and bad in life, and sometimes it's really shitty, but you gotta look on the bright side. Right. Go for a fucking hike. Go watch a movie. Go laugh with your friends. Go drink some wine. Go out. Like, enjoy your life, because you could die tomorrow. There's people dying as we speak, and it's scary to think about, but you can literally just be dreading your entire life, and tomorrow you wake up dead, and you don't even know. Like, that's it. Like, that's what you did with your life, is feel sorry for yourself. Yeah. You know? I didn't want that to be me, and I thought about killing myself all the time, and I was like, for what? I'm just going to inflict more pain on other people, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, my son. Like, who do I think I am trying to leave him behind? Yeah, it's scary, but I just think, you know, if you really want to be happy and you try to pursue that, you can be.
Exactly. Yes. I admire you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
100%. And your life, wherever you're wanting to go, you'll get there.
Thank you.
Just give it time. Okay.
I will, girl. I've been waiting a long time.